Thank you. GM, everybody. Welcome back to ETHMilan. I'm so bullish on this edition. We have so many OGs today with us, a couple of people that are working in crypto since like 1915. I would like to introduce each and every one of them. And I would like you guys to tell a little bit more about your background and what happened. Like, when did you shift to Web3 and what did bring you inside this crypto madness? Let's start from Mirko from Definity. Welcome on stage.
Thank you, Soy. I'm Mirko from the ICP Hub Italy in Ticino. So it's basically the internet computer hub for the Italian and southern Switzerland areas. So how I started in the Web3. Basically, I'm a communication designer focused on web design and social media management. And before the Web3 experience, I worked in different communication agency, specifically in sport areas, in food and beverage, because I'm from Parma, so it's awesome areas for food and beverage here in Italy. And then in the 2021, I discovered the internet computer. But why? Because as a web designer, a front-end developers, I always looked for some different alternatives to the centralized web, because I went in crypto 1 year before, not so long, and I discovered the internet computer. So what's the internet computer? It's a cloud, web cloud 3.0. So basically, you can build your internet, your website, your application on the internet, but the decentralized part of the internet. So you can put there the front end, the back end, all the communication with Web 2 services. And as a web designer, my mind blew. And so I'm here because I discovered the internet computer, started to develop some application on the internet computer, and then I got in touch with the foundation, with the Definity Foundation, and together we decided to start our path here in Italy to spread the word about the ICP, and here I am.
That's actually super inspiring. This is demonstrating that you don't really need to be a developer or whatever, to start in Web3. So anyone who's willing to start and join as a working position in Web3, this story from Mirko is really inspiring. Like, before 2021, you were totally doing something different and super interesting.
Totally in Web 2.
Yeah, exactly. That's super interesting and inspiring. What about you, Francesco?
Thanks, Mirko, for the mic. Hi, Soy. What about me? Guys, I had a very long journey. Let's say I come from the trading side of the world. So my first experience was trading stocks and forex, so what was available in the market. And I was so in love, with everything that comes on the internet that I was like, oh, I cannot miss the next big move. So from my, let's say, American education, I understood that there were penny stocks, which were, stocks very little, moving a lot due to liquidity. And then I discovered Ethereum, so which was, a similar experience if you think about it. It's just a company, but it's a web company. So what brought me there was, of course, looking for new ways that you could trade, looking for the right exchanges where you could put your money to be safe somehow. And that's where my journey actually started. So I actually translated what's happening in the crypto to the real world. And I just started studying each company for what they do. So they have services, they have, community, they do have workers in the company, they do have a balance sheet, which is different. It's like there is the market cap, there is, allocation, there are tokens. So there are many different things that brought me there. And the thing was that was so new, was something that people were not understanding, that I wanted to jump in and be like, okay, this is actually maybe something that we should study more, that will actually be able to shape the future. So in such a sense, then I ended up looking for, companies that were developing that. And that's how I ended, working as event manager in YouHodler, because the expansion and the community is the thing that we value most, and as well as security. So that's how the path actually began. A lot of difficult experience, great experience, but this brought me to think, you have never to leave the path that you chose. So somehow, yes, here we are right now, and exploring this new, let's say, empire. So there is a lot of new things to learn from these cryptocurrencies and blockchain. As of course Mirko was saying, a lot of new protocols can be created here. New application can be created. So we don't have to consider Web 2 anymore as the only and sole thing, but there is Web 3 as well.
Super inspiring. It shows that in the future we won't distinguish anymore Web 2 and Web 3. In the future it will be just one unique thing, and the technology that we will use won't even be mentioned, right? How long have you been there, like in Web 3? Like Mirko was since 2021, and what about you?
Yeah, I started in 2017 looking
wow.
for Ethereum, but look, I had to learn as well. And the first time I sent my 2 ETH, which was my income that period, I completely lost them because I sent to a different blockchain.
No.
And since then, I was like, okay, I need to study this more. And the real approach began in 2020 with COVID. Of course, everybody had more time to spend, and that's where I focused.
That's crazy. In 2017, there wasn't that much documentation either to study, so it was really hard to start. But yeah, inspiring as well. What about you guys? Like, how did you start your journey in Web3?
Hello everyone, my name is Federico. I am the CEO of Phemex. We're a centralized exchange, top 15 by TVL and trading volume. I started by passing on the first opportunity I had. So the first time that someone asked me to work in crypto was at Bybit. Like, I knew the co-founder of Bybit. So that was a mistake. And around a year later, he told me, let's start a new exchange from scratch. And I said, okay, now is the time. Like, I've done my studies, all that. So in 2019, I was able to start an exchange from scratch. And I think it was the right time to build a consumer app, because you're able to catch the entirety of the bull run, right? So I think right now, most protocols and exchanges as well are struggling a little bit because there is not that much flow of retail traders coming in. I think there might be again a time like we saw in 2021, but right now, yeah, I think things are pretty stable. I got my start at the perfect time in crypto. Probably maybe a couple of years earlier would have been better, but yeah, pretty happy of the journey so far. Yeah, thank you.
Super cool that you met the founder of Bybit. Like, the dude is a big piece in the phone. Okay, then, yeah, last but not least.
Thank you. So yeah, basically I started in 2016 just like an investment perspective, and I lost everything basically, so that was not a good strategy. But actually the investment side kept me interested on the technology, on the decentralization and the crypto world. So then I started working after university, and I discovered this opportunity in VeChain. So yeah, I said, okay, let's try, because it's my passion since 2015. I started mining Bitcoin and so on. So yeah, I've tried, and right now I'm in the business development team.
Mining Bitcoin.
Yeah. And I'm in a business development team in VeChain since, for 1.5 years. And yeah, we are trying to use blockchain to incentivize sustainable action, so a real use case through the incentivization of the token system. So yeah, we are a layer 1 focused on sustainability, and I really enjoyed my work because, yeah, as I said, it was my passion, and I try to be interested in what I'm doing. So yeah, thank you.
That's great, guys. We have such a nice background here. So let's start about talking consumer apps. And I would really like to know, what do you think about the future of consumer apps in Web3 and why we are not getting there yet, like with the next billion users? And what are the blockers about, having a successful consumer app now in this moment of the market? The market now is pretty grim, like super flat, but I would like to know, guys, what you think about it.
Yeah, I think there's a big problem right now for the onboarding of new users in the Web3 consumer apps. I can start saying that maybe for the 99.8% of the web application that we named Web3 application are not Web3 application, but we can say that they are Web 2.5, because we have the largest part of the application that runs on a centralized network, controlled by the big company of the world, such as the Amazon Web Services, the Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, that in fact owns all the data that we put on that platform, on that web application. So this is a point. So the transition from 2.5 to effectively 3.0 web application. The second part, in my opinion, is the onboarding. So the onboarding phase. So usually when we have to explain how to interact with a Web3 application, we need to explain what's a wallet, how customers have to download it, what are a seed phrase, why the seed phrase is very important, and it's
Don't share it.
no sharing. So there are a lot of things that the most of the people outside there are totally aware and maybe don't wanna really know. So we need to find the right way to communicate that. That's something very important, because the Web3 is the own part of the internet. So if you don't own your asset, your data, whatever, that's not Web3, and you can't name an application a Web3 application. So that's a very good point, and a very important topic, but we need to facilitate the users to enter the Web3, maybe with a good work of developers that need to facilitate this entry point, and we could be really enthusiastic about a Web3 application when a user can interact with it without feeling the Web3 part. So when a users can interact with a Web3 application, feeling the Web2 experience, but with all the privacy and security feeling in the interaction. So that's my overview.
It feels like that you're talking about user experience and user interface, basically. And I totally feel you on there. Like, I usually think about normies, and normies are non-Web3 people that are not able to be onboarded easily because they are super confused about what's the wallet, whatever, they have to insert in terms of data.
Yeah, we have the technology, because here at ETHMilan, you can visit all the booths in the area, and you can feel that the technology is ready to be used. But we need to find the way to communicate in the proper way with the mass. So.
Of course,
Yeah.
totally agree. What about you? What do you think about it? Like, is it only user experience, or there's something else blocking the normies?
What blocks actually the normies? I believe it's a combination between marketing and platforms themselves. Because what we have to think here that we here are all experts, okay? We do all know what means wallet. Even if it's in Italian, it's like portafolio, and you will never call that in cryptocurrency, And there are different chains, there are different, tools, different programs. Anything is new. So what we need to make a focus here, I think we are entering the new era. So as you knew that SMS is the text message, as you knew that WhatsApp, you could send text messages, so you had an education on that, we need to make something very clear that in order for you to have control on your assets, you need to know like the basic things, which are, wallet, whatever we mentioned. So in such a sense, there is a little bit a lack of education, and this comes from marketing. So people is not, aware of this word unless it comes in front of their face, and then they have to study all of it together. So I believe it's a misgap here. Of course, also application, Web3, Web2, have to develop a really nice design, a really useful experience for the customer, something that is easy. But if he doesn't know even where to start from, and I always try to put myself in the shoes of the normies, as we were mentioning, and I'd always ask to my bigger brothers, what do you think about this? And they are like, I don't understand it. But once you explain them the basic steps, then it's like an easy learning tool, comes everything after the other. But you need to have patience and, of course, willingness to learn. So will be just a question of time where people will be able to use the services as much as they could. So
I totally feel you there. Like in our community, we have a sort of 10,000 people community all over the world. In introverts, it's mostly about Web3 gaming. Normies are willing to enter, but they are afraid of what they can or not, can do, because they don't know what to do exactly. Everyone is so attracted by, okay, let's take some money, let's get some passive income, let's, play and earn. But what happens, if I click the wrong link and I get, ragged, and, people are even afraid to approach the matter because there is a lack of education. Totally agree with you.
yeah, I feel there is just this missing point, that could be easily achievable.
So user experience, then we have lack of knowledge. What about you, Federico? If normies are not joining us, it is because one of these things, or there is something more behind there?
I think in the past year and a half, the biggest problem that our industry has faced has been the enormous value extraction from retail users. So if we take the most successful protocols of the past year and a half, we can say Polymarket, not value extractive. Then we have Pump.Fun, it is value extractive. Then you have Friendtech, extremely value extractive. So every new chance for retail users to actually make some money has turned against them. And we are now playing games of musical chairs, getting faster and faster, in which meme coins are getting at most at 100 million market cap, right? With 100 million market cap meme coins, we're not getting anyone new in the industry, right? Like it's not catching any eyes outside of the industry. The fact that you have to play this fast-paced game in which you have to catch like everything as soon as they launch, because after that you are too late. Like in 2 days, things pump to, like I saw Moodang, the hippo meme token, like it reached 100 million, cool, but like in just a few days, right? So either you're plugged in, which means potentially an insider, so you know these kind of things, you know which Moodang token is the right Moodang token. If you know that, cool, this game is playing perfectly for you. But for retail, this is a nightmare. Like they are not enjoying this game at all. Like most of them lose money, most of them are not able to interact with the protocols fast enough really to understand like how fast these cycles are going. And if you look at other things launching, I think retail users prefer something with intrinsic value more than meme tokens. Like they like meme tokens, but everyone likes to pretend they understand what they're investing in, reading a white paper, all these kind of things. And in the past year, every layer 2, every protocol has launched at insane valuation. So if you launch a protocol at 2 billion valuation, like a layer 2, let's say, at 1.5, 2 billions a day of the launch, right? That means that there is no opportunity for growth for this layer 2, right? There is only opportunities for insiders to cash out. So I think we're asking for retail users to come back, but we're not giving them any reason to come back. We've been extracting any small drop of liquidity there is in the market, and now we're wondering why no one else is coming back. At the same time, we're launching more layer 2s, more layer 1s, more DeFi stuff, and the retail volume is simply not there. The retail flow is not there. And you can see that with other metrics that people don't look at, like you don't need to look at the wallets that people are making. You should look at the views on YouTube for retail users. This is what retail users do. They watch YouTube. They don't create 20 different wallets. That's what insiders do, right? So I think we should take a look inward before looking outwards at the retail users, because I don't think they're going to come back until we really kind of clean house in a way, unless we have a massive inflow of liquidity thanks to the ETF, the only good news of the past year and a half. I think unless we have like a different monetary policy that maybe could, lift all the boats, otherwise I don't see it, the situation getting any better. I think protocols and layer 1s, layer 2s will keep cannibalizing each other for users, which is still, in some industries live off that, like, not all industries grow. Yeah, I think the industry itself is guilty for the lack of retail interest at the moment. Yeah.
I want to specify, because I totally agree on this, and not many people know how fast it goes, especially on meme coins nowadays. I was in Dubai in Token 2049 some months ago, and there was a flood, and me and some friends were in the Solana Hacker House and decided to launch this meme coin called Flood. In 5 hours, guys, we reached, with a very small Telegram group, we were like not even 50 people. We got to a market cap of $100,000, and we were like, yoo-hoo! Like, it was such a roller coaster, then crashed immediately because a guy just dropped $3,000, something like that. And I understand a normie being there. He only has 5 hours to join and understand everything. So it's pretty impossible to join something that is evolving so fast. It goes seriously at meme speed. And so I super, agree with what you said. I'm really curious, do you agree also, or you think there is some other blockers?
Yeah, for sure, I would tend to agree. I will add just 2 points. Like, the first one will be the reputation, because in this year, of course, we have built some reputation about crypto wars and so on. But unfortunately, scams, rug pulls, and everything doesn't help this reputation to actually increase. But I feel like, as Federico said, like, ETF helped a lot for sure, and we are increasing as in maturity for sure. But for the Web 2 normie, if you call it like this, when you say crypto, blockchain, Bitcoin, they said, okay, this is a scam. They will steal my money and so on. So for sure, the reputation, it's a very, very strong point, in my opinion, added to the, by actually mentioning the last point mentioned, so the communication side. So every time I open a Web3 website, I see that it's speaking a lot about technology. For example, I see wallets, gas fees, a lot of big words, but then maybe a little bit less about use case. So, okay, what this project is doing. So not about the technology behind it. So it's a layer 1, layer 2, whatever. When I see a Web 2 people actually, they would like to see what I'm doing with this project. So in my opinion, also the communication part in website and also in marketing, in social and so on, need to focus more on the utility of the project rather than the technology behind it. That is for sure, it's important and it's mature, but for common people, Web 2 people, they are actually used to use the technology rather than understand it. For example, they use email. I don't think 99% of the people understand what's behind the email. So yeah, that's to add it, yeah.
I feel it there. Sometimes I really go to watch new protocols. We often work with new protocols, and websites are designed for tech savvies, and there's no utility explained. And I like wondering how my marketing manager or whoever else in the team who's not a developer is able to understand what the hell can we do with them. Like, even from a sales perspective, we cannot even collaborate. So
it's impossible.
Yeah, impossible. Very interesting. So now I would like to be more practical. Like, everyone is always speaking theoretically, but what happens for you guys if you have to solve the problem? Like, what would you launch for solving this problem of mass adoption of normies? Like, for example, Mirko, you're working for a really big protocol based in Zurich, and what are you guys doing for onboarding and helping these normies to get inside the ecosystem?
Yeah, for example, in the internet computer ecosystem, we have the internet identity. That's a great tool, I think, to onboarding people, for the onboarding of the people. Because basically, with your Face ID, with your face and or your fingerprint, you can easily create your wallet without to know that you are creating a wallet, but it's a non-custodial wallet. So in fact, you own all the private key, and with this internet identity that can be shared on all your devices. So for example, I can create my internet identity on my iPhone, and then with passkey, I can use that identity on my MacBook, for example, okay? And, or on my Chrome account. So I can easily interact with Web3 applications that are built on the internet computer. And basically, it's a non-custodial wallet. So I own the private key of this identity. And through this identity, you can experience what the Web3 is and how a project can leverage all the Web3 features and apply them to Web2, for example, application. So you can ensure privacy, you can ensure ownership to a digital asset, and with a totally easy to use interaction and application. For example, if you want to visit our booth, you can experience that because we have a fortune wheel. That's a perfect example of the internet identity usage. So you can scan the QR code, create an identity in, I think, 20 seconds, and then interact with the fortune wheel that it's built on the internet computer, front end and back end. It's built on the internet computer, and yeah, you can easily try what the internet computer can run and what's the possibilities for developers and for also other blockchain to build on the internet computer.
That's actually super
enter
interesting.
the Web 3.0.
It's like blending, like you guys are studying your customer personas like normies rather than tech savvies and Web3 folk. Yeah. So that's really interesting. You guys are almost gamifying, the process of, onboarding.
Yeah, in fact, I totally agree with Giorgio. We need to reach that point that a person can interact with a Web3 application without absolutely know that there's the blockchain behind. What's the Web3? Okay, Web3 it's cool because it's the evolution of Web2. But I only wanna I don't know have the ownership of a digital asset. That's enough for me, and that's enough for the majority of the people that are out. So. That's
super cool. I suggest to try to get an account on Definity. I'm really curious about that. I think I already have one because Emma Peretti once made an account for me. But yeah, the ecosystem is very bullish there. I'm actually bullish on you guys as well. What about you, Francesco? You said earlier education, but I don't know, that would be part of your plan to onboard new normies like to the space.
Actually, there are 3 steps. So I would mention security, easiness, and custom path to education. So in such a sense, where it's possible for you to learn the most, it's the place where you feel safe and secure. So this is the first step, and that's why in our application, we are Swiss-based, which is the most safe country in Europe, let's say, still. And as well as, easiness of the application themselves. So we just spoke before, if you're not trained, you don't even know how to use it. So if the interface is pretty easy, it helps you. But then we don't want to leave you alone. So you have custom paths for education that we develop for each kind of users / client that we have, in such a sense that he can understand and perform even outside our application what this environment involves. So in such a sense, we do have a partnership with Ledger, and we do help our clients understand them. Look, this is the seed phrase. You have to keep this data. And you still are connected to the exchange, but all the money, all the amounts that you have is still on your ledger, so it's on your side. But you still can use it on exchanges. So for them to understand this step, it's not very easy, but it opens to other ideas of other protocols of what you can actually do. So it's a 3-step program. So you have to be safe in such a sense, to have a renowned partner, for example, Ledger, and to have, you know, the easiness of the use for you to understand. And if you have some type of issue, there is a lot of material that is completely built on you for you to understand that at best. So in such a sense, we try to cover, you know, all the type of issue that may be blocking all the Web 2 users to the Web 3. Because as the guys were saying, the most important fact is that once you're trained, you know how to use it. But if you don't know how to use it, here comes the easiness. So why ETFs on Bitcoin and Ethereum are so important? Because if you think about it, of a person that doesn't use Web3, for them it's not easy to understand that they need to have a wallet, they need to keep the secret phrase safe. Imagine if you have a company and you want to invest in Bitcoin. You cannot leave the seed phrase to a worker, of course, or to a team that, you know, delegates your actions. Rather, will be smarter to have ETFs, because with one click you already are using the technology, but you don't know which technology are you using. In such a sense, it's like Visa. You know, before we had to pay cash, then this new electronic payment system came. They just explained us that we have to tap the card, but we don't know what's behind. And I can assure you that there is a lot of companies and technology behind that. And we are just one step before. So
I'm really inspired from what you said, also because I made the biggest bullshit in my crypto career. Like, I started 10 years ago exactly because I didn't know what I was doing and I was feeling unsafe. And I think I agree with what Mirko said, that we need better to improve the user experience. But if you are really curious, you start to fuck around, find out. So you make it happen. But when you feel unsafe, that's where the biggest gap, because then once you feel unsafe, you start to do the wrong things, and then people, once they lose their money, they will not likely come back. It's like a very small percentage of people coming back from there, but yeah.
maybe just meme gamblers.
True. So inspiring, super inspiring. What about you, Federico? What's your secret plan to onboard normies?
I think the most important component of building a retail-friendly app is to make it as fun as possible. So we are in a very fun industry, I believe, crypto. There is always something going on, whether it is Michael Saylor buying, or Ethereum ETF, or Solana having, like, launching their new phone or whatever. There is always something happening, right? From the biggest tokens to the smallest one, there is always something going on. So I think you have to tailor an app to capture all this buzz going on at all times, right? So from the way that the candles move on the chart, from the way that the order book populates on your app, to how you place orders, how you show, like, your daily gains, daily losses, all these kind of things. They need to be as interactive and flashy as possible, because crypto is fun, is fast-paced, and that's how your app needs to be, right? So I think from that point of view, I think centralized exchanges are leading the way in building something more consumer-friendly. I think DEXs or dApps, they tend to struggle a little bit in understanding what users want from an app. Now we've seen some new protocols coming along, which I think capture this kind of zeitgeist. So I think Pump.Fun, for example, is a good example of an app which is able to capture with the chat, the new tokens launching, all these kind of things. It's the perfect retail trap, I would say. At the same time, as Mirko mentioned, you want to abstract away anything that is not fun. So anything that you can hide under the hood, you need to hide it. Because some users might want to interact with that part of the technology, and those users can easily find out, like self-custody, all these kind of things. But for the retail users who only wants to speculate, who wants to buy the latest things, they don't care necessarily. So you cannot force feed them. Like, we've had users that don't know how to use MetaMask after 3 years on the exchange, right? So 3 years trading crypto, they don't know how to use MetaMask, they never downloaded it. So you cannot force certain key crypto elements or beliefs to all users, right? And we know a big portion of crypto use case is speculation, right? I believe, at least. So I think that as long as you're able, as an app, to abstract away what is not fun and highlight what is entertaining and interactive for your app, I think you're bound to find some success as long as the market is trending in the way you want to. Right?
This is something that we are trying to do in Introverse as well. You guys, have you ever noticed after Pump.fun how many other companies started that fund? It's crazy, right? Because that works. And it's reconnecting to what you said earlier, because in Pump.fun, the utility, it's super clear to the normie. That's why they join, because they understand how it works and what it is for. So I was having a group with the founders of Pump.fun. Like, I know when I met them in New York. But now I'm talking with Portal Gaming, with many other companies. They are creating their version of Pump.fun, because that's a great plan to onboard users. But what about you? What would you do to onboard new users?
Yeah, I will add something more technical, like saying the technology that could help actually to onboard Web 2, like account abstraction. So user actually can log in with their social login. Of course, we mentioned that. So that for sure will help the noise and the barrier from a wallet perspective. So I log in like logging in Gmail or whatever. And then I will mention also the fee delegation, or covering the gas fees, because another problem, in my opinion, like in Web 2, for Web 2 people, it's like I need to buy something to access a product. From a Web 2 perspective, it can be hard to understand. So in VeChain, we have this system called fee delegation, in which the app can sponsor the fee for the users. So it will help a lot in the user experience and user journey flow for Web 2 users. And yeah, I will agree with Federico again, like the simplicity of the app and also the use case, the gamification and so on will help a lot. It's also, I would say, a balance, because for sure, if you focus too much on Web 2, maybe Web 3 user, how hard Web 3 user look at you like saying, okay, you are becoming a Web 2 app, so that's not good for sure. But just taking an example, in our ecosystem, we have the app called Green Card, when you can just scan a recipe, and based on the sustainability of the recipe, of the product containing your recipe, you receive a reward. Through that, you can access by a simple social login, just take a picture and you receive token like simple points. So these kind of application from a Web 2 perspective are quite appreciated, and we noticed that. And I think that that's a good path to actually onboard more and more users.
That's actually cool, not only for adoption, but also for retention.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah. It's
that,
like a loyalty system in which the backend is Web 3, but you join like a Web 2 user interface.
That's super cool. Guys, I really thank you so much. We still have 10 minutes. I would like to know if anyone from the public would like to ask anything. I would ask first, how many normies there are in the room? Like, how many feels like beginners? 1 person, 2, 3, 4. Okay, nice. Like, I love to see conferences that most of the people, in conferences are tech savvies, like they are not normies. And that's another problem, like education. There are no normies here. We should bring more people in conferences. Is anyone having any questions? Shall I ask the last question before and spend the last 10 minutes, or you guys would like to ask anything from the speakers? Okay, we have a question.
You've done such a good job moderating, I thought I would help you out a little bit, ask a question. I appreciate all the presentations. My name's Jason, by the way. I'm from the US. And I really appreciate what you were talking about, this view of the normies and motivation, right? Motivating individuals to become participants that aren't already involved to grow this market. So I think it's fair to say that most people are motivated by one of two things, hope or fear. And I'm curious, from your perspectives, what are some ideas that you have where people can be motivated by hope as far as becoming more involved? I mean, when we talk about cryptocurrencies, there's a lot of fear, right? as you were saying, people have heard a story about how they went in, they did X, Y, Z, and they lost a lot of money. Can you give me some use cases of hope, of some actual problems that can be solved that will bring normies in?
Yeah, I can speak about our experience because we are strongly focused on sustainability. So our use case actually are basically the core of our use case. It's actually to incentivize sustainable behavior. So we are leveraging blockchain technology to reward people for their sustainable action. And I know that the hope for a lot of people is living in a more sustainable world. So once they realize that actually they are doing sustainable actions to increase the level of sustainability in the world, they can actually increase their hope that this technology can actually increase the value of what they are doing. So just the example I mentioned before, if I actually get used to buy more sustainable product because I'm rewarded, maybe a lot of people actually can be introduced to this and together decreasing the CO2 emission by just scanning a recipe. It's a very simple action, but if you sum all the recipes scanned, you see that the CO2 actually reduced. It's a lot. So I would say that simple action makes the difference in this case, and the blockchain is the correct layer, in my opinion, in our opinion, to solve the issue in this case of sustainability, but for sure also for many other use cases.
It's an interesting question. Maybe I'm too cynical, but as Arthur Hayes says, I'm a businessman, not a priest, right? So it's not really my job to give people hope. But I think what we can do as an exchange is give them transparency, right? So we are incubating a social fi app called Pulse, in which users can interact with each other, and then their essentially wallet, trades, everything becomes a bit more transparent. So I think that's a lot of what's missing in our industry is transparency between the people talking about what they are buying and selling and what they're actually doing, right? So I think by making this transaction more transparent, I think you can actually see who could be a good person to follow about their approach to the markets, right? If we look at other social fi apps like Farcaster, for example, I think they lack a little bit of the trader experience, right? Because most people on Farcaster have been in Ethereum since 2016 or something. They don't need to trade as much. You want an app with people where people are grinding from zero, right? You want an app in which people are trading actively. So I think with our experience with centralized exchange, retail users, etc., I think we can give them the kind of transparency that users need to learn at least. So okay, this person really trades, this person really makes money, I can learn from them. Right now I think there is a huge gap in transparency between what you see on social media, whether it is Twitter or YouTube, and what actually people do with their wallets. Most people that you see on YouTube don't really trade, right? They just receive funds from exchanges to show trades to their viewers. I believe that this is a net negative for users, for the exchanges, for everyone involved, apart from these YouTubers. So I think by increasing transparency, we can give retail users a more realistic shot at hope, in a way. Okay, thank you.
I love the question, and I really want to address that, explain a couple of things. In a sense, what brings the user interest is actually fear. Because if you think about it, what makes you notice something is fear. So first of all, you have fear of something, and this is the issue mainly right now with the cryptocurrency system, is that people has not been educated on how to use it, therefore they don't really know what to do, and things go bad. It's a consequence after the other. So therefore, security is one of the most important things, because once you surpass the phase of fear, then you become, you have the realization of what's happening, and therefore, after it comes hope. So once you have security and you overcome all of your fears, what comes in the game is the hope that makes you study even more what you're doing in order for you to have an achievement. So I feel here the goal is fear and achievement. Because if you have an ending path, if you have an objective, and I can talk from my experience, I built this startup which was a digital card, identity card, and the main issue was they didn't know how was the objective of that card. And once we gave them some achievements, some goals, the development was mainly going by itself. So I feel here the important part is, of course, security, and that's why we allow our users to keep their funds on their ledger at their home or in their bank or wherever they have that ledger, and still can be connected to the open market somehow. And you are just gonna have the amount that you have safe, and this brings you to experience new platform, new interactions, and this is actually the main objective. So fears brings you to develop, and you need to have an achievement. So the way here that we could fill this gap is to give more security in the market and some specific goals. So for example, would be great identity creation, or knowing what's the real what traders are doing. So I can talk from experience. Trading is not easy at all. You're gonna lose more, way more than you're gonna do, and the exchange is gonna benefit. So it's all a system here that it's not pretty clear. So this is what I think. You know, fear and achievement can be good points of this developing industry.
Yeah, I agree with all of my colleagues here on the stage, but I think we have a technology, and the challenge here is to find a way to vehicle this technology to solve and to answer user needs. When we find this way, we can vehicle hope to the market, for example, and to the users. For example, here in Italy, there's something that I think everyone has heard once in his life. That's the Made in Italy, for example. So with a blockchain, we can ensure the authenticity of a product, for example, or a process. And we can use blockchain to communicate this authenticity to the user. And in the specific, we have an application on the internet computer that's named Federitaly. Federitaly do a simple work. It notarizes how a product was was built, and with a simple QR code, you can access it, and you can 100% secure that product that you are in front of you, so you can touch, you can see, you can see all the details on the label attached to the product are really and 100% made in Italy. That's an easy use case that can be declined, I think, on most of the blockchain on the market. And but my point is, we need to solve a problem. We need to use the technology to solve a problem. And when we find this way, we win, and the technology win, the user win, and that's our work, I think. So.
I just want to give 2 cents on this topic because it's actually hilarious. I was talking about this in Singapore 2 days ago. I was in Token 2049 in Singapore, and I was talking with this founder of BitBoy, this Chinese guy making gaming on Bitcoin and mining stuff, you know, while you're playing. And we were actually talking about this topic, and it was really cool how we arrived to this final point of how we can bring, you know, new users inside the community, or anyway the space. And it's maybe romantic I'm not sure if this is the right answer, but bringing hope and connected to the user acquisition, I would say that it is strictly connected to the fact that people are not aware of the real meaning of decentralization. Because when I started, like, this year is like 9.5 years I'm in crypto, and I was working in an IT company at that time, and I was reading the Bitcoin white paper. Any normie here who would like to start in crypto, just please read that piece of paper, because you really understand what is the meaning of freedom, and that's the real hope I see in the market, in the industry, the whole space. With the real decentralization, we are all free, monetary free at least. And it sounds stupid, but a lot of people are using these to help others to get out of really hard situations, like people in war zones. I have this friend running this startup that is using Bitcoin to help people in Syria. These people lost everything, like their houses, and even if they had a lot of money in their bank account, they were going to the bank, but the bank is not going to give you even if you have, I don't know, $200,000 in your bank account, just try tomorrow to go to your bank and ask, give me all my money. They won't be able to give them to you. So with the real decentralization, there is no intermediator, and you have the real freedom. So this is the real hope, and wherever you are, you're having your real asset, and this is a driver, in my opinion, that is going to onboard the mass adoption. But people are not aware of this concept yet. So yeah, but thank you for the question. That was really interesting, and I think we ran out of time, so no more questions. But yeah, I think everyone, all the speakers here on stage, guys, these guys are G's. So give them a huge applause, and thank you so much for listening to all our stuff.